Well, after a horror week for the Prime Minister, and that's my words, Anthony Albanese apparently is looking to gain popularity the only way he knows how, by opening up our wallet. I mean, this time, and this was a story in The Australian today, he's looking to boost apparently votes in key Queensland and West Australian seats, shoring up support packages for struggling nickel, lithium and rare earth producers with targeted production tax credits for miners. For more on this, I'm joined, as I am every week, by former Queensland Premier and Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Campbell Newman. Campbell, great to see you as always. On the Queensland situation, do you get a sense or do you get a feeling that federal Labor's trying to shore up a few seats up there?
Look, the specifics that you just mentioned, I don't think would have too much of an impact in Queensland. Having said that, WA, I think, probably would have some resonance. But, Labor, really have very few seats federally in Queensland already, Steve. And if he wants to sort of bolster his support here, I'd say he should disassociate himself from Stephen Miles and stop pretending that Miles is running a good government. And the only thing he should be doing is looking at ways to support our traditional mainstay being the coal industry and perhaps things like agriculture. But WA, different sort of thing there. I'm conflicted, Steve, because I've actually got some investments with my investors in Kalgoorlie. I should declare that. I'd love to see the nickel refinery there, or smelter there, continue. But, is it the right thing to do? I don't think it is. Governments really, really get it wrong when they try and pick winners like this and splash the cash around.
Well, one of the picking the winners is this massive computer that's been announced is going to be built in Brisbane. I don't think anyone in the country, bar about a handful of people, understand what it actually does. I watched that announcement with great interest, and the aforementioned Premier Stephen Miles was in the background, grinning like someone, the cat that had got the milk or the cream. But I don't think he didn't look like he understood what it was about either.
Well, and neither do the whole of the country, mate. 27 million Australians are in the dark. We're not being told, and yet it's our money. In fact, almost $1 billion when you combine the federal and the state support to this for this quantum computer. And I found actually one comment that was made. I think it was by Cameron Dick. That's right. I just got the quote here. There weren't a lot of Queensland-grown quantum technology experts who wanted to bring their technology back to Queensland. That was his justification for funding it with government, taxpayer money. Now, I just say this is the problem with Australia today. Why don't people want to commercialise tech in Australia? And it's because we have high taxes. We have terrible IR because we have more red tape in running a business than you can poke a stick at, and people would prefer to be in the United States or perhaps even in the UK or Europe. That's the problem. And throwing money around like this without the required transparency and accountability isn't ultimately going to fix the problem. It just pains me to have to say this, but even the coalition, we're asleep at the wheel in the last few years when it came to what's required to make Australia a sort of desirable place to invest. There's so much that could be done to encourage entrepreneurs, but everything at the moment is going the wrong way.
Well, you make a really good point, and I saw an investment expert on Ross Greenwood's program during the week. He said the answer is not shoveling out, bucket loads of taxpayers' money to invest in these businesses. The answer is to facilitate private enterprise to do it and get out of the way, cut taxes for business and make it easier to set up the manufacturing that we could have in this country. That's the solution, which I'm sure you would endorse.
Look, absolutely, mate. It's just everywhere you go, the environment in Australia is becoming just untenable for people to get a new business really going. It doesn't matter where you turn. High power prices, terrible IR, expensive real estate, and that's actually due to government regulation. And the red tape you will not believe. I mean, there's consultation going on at the moment with by AUSTRAC and the Federal Attorney General's Department, which would see, for example, and they've got an example like this literally in their sort of discussion paper where it seriously discusses the case, a hypothetical case of a young couple wanting to buy a dog grooming business and having to do ID checks with their accountant or their lawyer and having to answer questions about where they got the money for the dog grooming business and why they want to buy a dog grooming business. And it's all in the cause of trying to stop money laundering and the like. And you just go, has anybody got a brain here? Does anyone realise that this is throwing iron filings in the gearbox of the economy? And every accountant, every lawyer, every real estate agent in the nation would be required to register with AUSTRAC, would be required to have a compliance program, would be required to have training programs for staff, would be required to basically dob in people they thought were suspect to the government. I mean, this is at a micro level. The stuff that's going on right across Australia. I mean, we could do a whole hour show with you one time, mate, where we went through all the red tape that's been inflicted on people in business in this country in the last 10 years. And that's the challenge to the coalition, by the way, to actually get to the detail and understand what they could do to eliminate this nonsense. And that would then really open up our economy.
I might take you up on that. What about this bribe announced by the Queensland Premier of a $1,000 power bill rebate as part of the pre-election spending spree? I mean, is that not the most blatant dollars for votes policy you've ever seen in your life?
So every household, Steve, in Queensland, regardless of their means, getting $1,000. No questions, no ifs, buts, or maybes. And Cameron Dick again had the nerve to say that even the rich, I'm paraphrasing a bit, even the rich deserve this. Well, it's going to cost $2.5 billion. That is a staggering amount of money. But what's the insidious thing here, mate? Apart from the fact that it's blatant vote buying, it actually makes Australians, in this case Queenslanders, mendicants. It makes them sort of hooked to the, if you like, the drug coming from government. It doesn't make them self-reliant. It actually goes the exact opposite. We just can't go on in this way. It is not sustainable. And, I think it is one of the most blatant efforts that I've ever seen like this, and a blatant waste of money. And really, why are people paying higher prices for electricity? Because of regulation, because of the net zero targets, because of subsidies for renewables, because of the need to build 10,000 kilometres of transmission lines to bring these renewable projects into the grid. I'll make a prediction. If we had true deregulation in this country, we would see people's energy prices at their home go down by 40 to 50%. And I'm not an economist, but I can tell you I'm a businessman, and that's what would happen. That's how out of step with our international competitors we are with the price of energy. And you can go and have a look around the world. You'll see that overseas jurisdictions do pay a lot less for electricity in key markets that compete with us.
Common sense as usual. Campbell Newman, great to catch up with you. Talk to you next week.